I'm going to show you how to install Python on your system so that you can set up Python and Visual Studio Code to work together for data analysis. I'm using Windows 11, however, the process is very similar on Mac, Linux and older versions of Windows. All you need is a web browser and an internet connection. Open your web browser and in the URL bar at the top, type www.python.org. Once the Python website has loaded, you'll see an option here that says Downloads, and it should automatically identify what computer you're on. So here you can see it's recognised that I'm using Windows. Click this button here to download the latest version of Python. As you can see up in the downloads, here it has downloaded. So I'm just going to open this folder and you'll see at the top we've got the Python installer. Double click on this and you'll see some options. So before you click install now, make sure you click add Python exe to the path. And if you're installing on your own computer, I would recommend you use admin privileges when you are installing Pi. If you don't have admin on your computer for whatever reason, then you don't need to click that. So once these two are selected, click install now. Any pop-ups that come up, approve them. And Python will install on your system. This may take a few minutes, but once this is installed, you will have Python on your computer. At the end of the process, and when installing any of these setup programs, I recommend you restart your computer after each one. It may ask you to restart, but if it doesn't, then I recommend you just manually restart. So we've now successfully installed Python, and that is the first step to setting up your programming environment. Close this, go down here and select restart. The next step is to install Visual Studio Code. And again, the process is similar on all operating systems. Open a web browser and go to code.visualstudio.com. Again, it will identify that you have what operating system you're on, and you should just be able to go here and download for your system. You can see this is now downloading. Now that we've got that installed, we can click on this and accept the agreement and go through the process of installing Visual Studio Code. If you choose to create a desktop icon, that is completely up to you, but do make sure that you've got add to path and register code as an editor for supported files. Now I like to add these two as well because it just makes opening folders really quick and easy. So those two are completely up to you, but do make sure you've added to path and register code as an editor for supported file types. These two are essential. Click next and then just click install, and it will take you through the process of installing. Once again, you will have to restart your computer after it's installed. This is so that the path is registered and essentially the computer knows where to look for the components that it needs. So it knows where to find Python, and it knows where to find all the setup files it needs for Visual Studio Code. So on this, just untick this, click Finish, close your web browser, and once again, just restart your computer. Restarting your computer will really solve a lot of the issues you might come up with whilst you're installing this software. So just go to Restart and restart your computer. Now that we've installed Python and Visual Studio Code, we can start installing the extensions within Visual Studio Code to use Python. I always recommend that when you're writing a new program, you start with a new folder. So I'm going to create a folder on my desktop by going to New and Folder, and I'm going to call this Example Coding. If you then open this folder and right click and go to Show More Options on Windows 11, or if you're on Windows 10, it should just appear. And we want to open with code. This is going to open our folder within Visual Studio Code. If it asks you this, just accept this because we are the author of this folder. So this is what you will see to begin with. Now there are a few options here. You can work through these at your own pace. You might want to set up Copilot to assist you in programming. You might want to choose your theme if you want a dark or light, etc. However, I'm going to ignore these for now. You can work through them and set it up, but we're going to work specifically to set up Python. So over here on the left hand side, you will see extensions. Click on this and type in Python. As you can see, Python extensions are at the top and quite popular. My recommendation is you install the Microsoft certified extensions here. So I'm going to install Python, and that's now installing. By default, it's also started installing the Python debugger. And at the moment, we will just install those. There are additional extensions that you can install if you want to. Be careful of the sources. Try and only install extensions from trusted sources. You can also get an idea of the popularity of these and how safe they are. So, for example, whilst this isn't from Microsoft, it's got 12.8 million downloads. So it will be a relatively safe extension. But the only ones you need really are these two up here. And then we're just going to close all of this. These icons along the side help you navigate where you are working in Visual Studio Code, and we want the Explorer because this is our file explorer. And as you can see, we've got an empty folder here because we haven't created any Python files. Now, before you start running code or anything along those lines, what you want to do is create a virtual environment. And essentially, what a virtual environment does is localize any libraries you might download. And the reason you want to do that is you don't want to install libraries across your whole computer, because when they become outdated, you would need to update them. However, old programs that you've written might not work with the newer libraries. However, if you create a virtual environment, you save all of the libraries and packages at this point in time that will work in your program locally. So what we do is we go to View and we go to Command Palette. And in here, just type Python. And what we're looking for is virtual create environment. You see here where it says Python create environment. So we're just going to click on that. And just to clarify, we'll go through that again. So we'll just go to View, Command Palette, and then we want type in Python and then create environment. I always use Venv, virtual environments. So click on that and then select your version of Python. Now we've only got one version installed on this, so we're just going to click that. And you'll see Visual Studio Code will start working and you'll see a folder there called Venv. And essentially this virtual environment will contain all of the libraries that you use for your program. So what we're going to do is just create a quick test file. So when you want to create a new script, you go up here where it says new file, type in the name. So we'll just do hello world and the extension is .py, and you'll see it will recognize this as a Python file. In here, we're just going to put a simple print and then hello world. So the most basic program you can get, but this will test whether our environment is set up how we want it to. So I'm just going to click run up here and then you can see start debugging, and we want to use the Python debugger at the top, Python file, and you'll see a terminal open at the bottom. It will run the program and there you can see our output. So a very simple program, but the first one that you can run to make sure everything has been installed and everything is working perfectly. When you're working with Python, you will need to import external libraries. It's one of the things that makes Python very easy to use, that there are many external libraries that can help do the heavy lifting of whatever calculations you are doing. In this example file, you can see that there is a yellow wiggly line underneath this library. And you'll also see that the file is yellow. And essentially what this means is I haven't installed the library. In this case, it's Pandas, which is a data manipulation tool. So if you're in a situation where these imports at the top have yellow lines, and if you hover over it, you'll see import Pandas could not be resolved from source. That's because we haven't installed it. What you'll want to do is open up a terminal. If you haven't already got a terminal open, you can see I've got one here. I'm just going to demonstrate how to open a terminal. So you just go to Terminal and New Terminal. It'll take a few seconds to open, and you just want to make sure that your virtual environment that you set up before is running. And you'll see down here, right down in the bottom, it will say 3.13.2 Venv. This is your Python version, but the most important thing we're interested here is the .venv to say that this is now running in a virtual environment. The place that we install all libraries from is pip, and the command is pip install. So in this instance, we go to pip install and then write the name of the library. In this instance, it's Pandas. For the duration of your course, most of the libraries, it's very clear what to install. However, if you're in a situation where you need to install a library and you're not certain what the pip is, you can just go to Python pip, and you'll see here pypi, and this contains all of our libraries, external libraries, and it will also give you the install code for to install it in Visual Studio Code. So if we look up pandas, we'll see at the top we want this one here, and you'll see that the pip command is pip install pandas, and you can copy that and then paste it into Visual Studio Code. Once you have the pip command for whichever library you are running, you can quite simply press enter, and Visual Studio Code will install pip for you. Once it's installed, just give it a few seconds. You're waiting for the command prompt to reappear. It shouldn't take a second, just while it's processing and installing all of these into your virtual environment. And now that we've got pandas installed from pip, you can see the little yellow line has gone. It recognizes the library, and we can run this program simply by going to Run, Start Debugging, Python file, and then our output will appear in the console terminal down here. So a very simple program where we've created a data set, we've run some summary statistics on this, and you can see everything is working as it should be.